Hi guys, this is Jason Rule from Driven Nutrition with Becca Chills, which she was kind enough to give me permission to call her that. Chilczenkowski, is that right?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Right on. So you're from Lifestyle Nutrition and you're a coach there at O'Hare CrossFit, right? Okay.
Exactly.
One of the things that I wanted to talk with you about, the Open is right around the corner, and I know that we get hit up a lot with what supplements should we take for and during the Open or even before, but I really want to kind of dig into what nutrition, what should people be eating. If there's any supplements that we can bolt onto that, great, but tell us about yourself, introduction, all that.
So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for having me. This is a huge honor and I'm excited to do it. Like you said, my name is Becca. I am the head coach and owner at Lifestyle Nutrition, which is a nutritional coaching company. I've been coaching nutrition for about 4.5 years, and I've been doing CrossFit now for about 6 or 7 years. So I started CrossFit in 2011, and since then I have been to regionals 3 times, once on a team and twice as an individual. And I've played around a lot with my nutrition, and I've learned a lot. And I usually recommend all my clients do the same, just because everyone is so different. You really don't know what works until you try it out. So as we go, please feel free to ask any questions, type them, we'll be able to see them, and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. But for nutrition, I would say for, most people, you don't want to start a new diet at this time. You don't want to start anything drastic at this time, but there's a lot that you can do for nutrition and for recovery to help you perform at your best in the Open. So for 99.9% of us, the Open is kind of our game day, right? This is our competition season. The 0.01% that move past this are not human. They probably already have exactly what they are doing to a T, leading up the next 5 weeks, basically. And for the rest of us, there's basically 2 things we can control at this point. We can't get much stronger. We're not going to get that much faster. In 5 weeks, you can maybe improve technique a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be sleep and nutrition. So the first one I kind of want to cover a little bit of sleep, because it's a very overlooked one. So for most people, they think that, getting 6 hours of sleep is surviving, and that maybe even thriving, but it very rarely is. And so I usually recommend to people trying to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep if they can. And something that can help with that is some type of, melatonin. You guys have the recovery supplement that helps you fall asleep. It has melatonin included in it. It has magnesium included in it, which in my opinion is probably the #1 deficiency in CrossFit athletes is magnesium. So I'm sorry?
Why is that? Why do you feel that way?
I think because CrossFit is such a high intensity sport that the average population is doing. If you really think about it, I don't think anything compares to the impact CrossFit has on your body. And I think that very few people get enough magnesium, and it's so necessary for recovery that even through their diet, they're not getting enough. And the recovery is so much more than just if you go running or if go and do some light weights at the gym. The intensity level of CrossFit, you think about it like our workouts are probably as intense as like a professional athlete might be doing. Maybe for the general population, we aren't using the same weights. We aren't hitting those same thresholds as a professional athlete might. But for a general person to walk into the gym that hasn't worked out in their life and they're doing CrossFit, it takes a toll on the body. And so I find that how helpful magnesium can be for recovery and sleep in general for recovery, most people are deficient in those things. And so having a supplement that provides both better sleep and magnesium is huge. And magnesium in general helps with sleep quality.
And it's relatively inexpensive too. So that's great. I mean, besides just the R&R, one of the things that I've recommended for years, and that's the reason I wanted to get your take on it. A lot of times when people start a high intensity exercise, they'll sometimes start getting headaches. And a couple weeks into it, and a lot of times it just comes down to a magnesium deficiency. So just getting a little bit of magnesium, 500 milligrams, once or twice a day can make a huge difference. And you're talking about a dirt cheap product that makes a big difference.
Completely. And So with the more physical activity you do, you put more stress on the body in terms of your muscles and like the nervous system breakdown. And sleep is when you recover through that. And a lot of people don't get great quality sleep, even if they're in bed. And so when you sleep, you basically go through different stages. And through some of those stages, your blood pressure drops and then your brain activity kind of decreases. And so more blood supply is going to your muscles in terms of oxygen, nutrients, stuff like that. And so if you're never really hitting that stage of sleep, which takes usually like 1 to 2 hours of sleep to even get into, you're never really fully recovering at all. And so if this is a constant thing for you, I usually recommend like the best thing you can do is sleep better. Because I used to have a rule when I competed with my coaches that if I got less than 6 hours of sleep, I wouldn't even train because it's such a stress to the body. So I used to take, I probably should start taking again. I used to take a sleep supplement to help me sleep better because the stress levels during these 5 weeks can be a lot higher than normal.
Right.
So, yeah.
So you were talking about sleep and getting more blood to the muscles and everything else that can come down to nutrients. Are you recommending people eat before they go to bed? If so, what? What can be what can help the next day?
I'm sorry, the last question.
What can help with soreness? Because like you said, we're not going to separate from the pack anymore in the next 5 weeks for nutrition. So, but the intensity is going to go up. The weight's going to go up. I'm 43 years old. I'm going to feel like crap if I go and really push it hard. So how do I cut back on some of that? And is one of those things eating before I go to bed?
Yeah. So I think that unfortunately, a lot of nutrition is individual. It kind of depends on when you're training in the day. So like if for people that are doing their workouts at nighttime, a lot of people have this, thought that you're not supposed to eat after 6 p.m. And it's typically not the fact that you're eating after 6 p.m. It's typically what you're eating after 6 p.m. Because a lot of people, they eat dinner and then we crave sweets or we crave, a drink or whatever it is. And so, yes, exactly. And so it's not necessarily the fact that you're eating late at night. It's more so the fact that what you're eating. And so what I tell people is like, you should have a level of intake that you're trying to get in during the day. And if you haven't taken that in by the end of the day, that's not ideally, you don't take in 3,000 calories at the end of the day because you haven't eaten all day. But, if you need to eat at night, especially after a workout, that's the most important meal of the day because that's when your body's going to get what it needs to recover. And so if you're working out at night, sometimes I think that eating at night can actually help people sleep better. It helps drop cortisol levels a little bit. And so it helps people kind of fall into a better sleep. And everyone knows kind of the, when we get a little tired after eating a lot of carbs, if you're working out at night, your post-workout meal should probably have the most carbs out of the day. And so that helps people sometimes fall into a deeper sleep and get a better sleep overnight. And so what I advise people is if they are training at night, make sure you take in a meal post-workout. If you're training in the morning, it's still important to obviously eat dinner at night and eat something that has nutritional value. And most importantly, eat something that's got good nutrient content. So inflammation, like you said, you don't want to wake up sore the next day. There's a lot of foods. Probably what I see the most is sugar, dairy, and gluten. So these are kind of the big hitters. And again, it's individual, but those are the ones that people see the most inflammation in the body from and have the worst sleep after. If you're taking in, like sweets after dinner, or if you're eating a ton of cheese with something, those types of things can really wreak havoc on the body and not allow it to recover as well.
Okay, right on. How about water intake, which is a given? Will anything change? Will our water intake change? Or should it change frequency? Anything like that? This is
another one that, again, kind of based off of body weight is what I use on average. So for an inactive person, I usually use a general rule of like about half of your weight in ounces of water a day. For people that are exercising, you probably want to start taking in about 6 to 8 additional ounces per 30 minutes of workout. So hydration is huge because even just like a 1 to 2% decrease in hydration in the body can have a huge impact on your strength and performance in workouts.
Really?
Yeah. So it's very common also to see people get injured like later in games or in workouts because of dehydration. So like your dehydration levels impact the function of your muscles. And so like if your tendons get dehydrated, your muscles get dehydrated, that's usually when you see people pull something, tear something, because of later in the game, they're much more dehydrated. This can also have a lot to do with climate, humidity, where you are in the world. But the easiest thing to use that most people can use is your urine color. So you want like a light yellow color to be able to track both dehydration and overhydration, because overhydration can actually be just as harmful. It can throw off sodium imbalances in the body, and in extreme cases can be deadly. So there's some things that can help with hydration for people that are doing really long training periods. You can do like a carb supplement. You guys have the Glyco Drive, which is awesome, and it's a very easy to digest carb supplement. It helps your body basically improve absorption into the blood circulation of the water and whatever electrolytes are in it. And so when you're taking in a carb during either a long workout, or for some people, they can't eat before workouts, it's a great option before like an open workout to sip on some of that to make sure that your glycogen stores are topped off. Another option is aminos. So like aminos show, especially glutamine, are capable to help improve hydration. So you can add those to your water, but hydration levels help fight fatigue. They reduce soreness. Making sure that you're getting enough water, especially in the winter when people are in areas that it's cold, tends to be a much bigger issue. So like I said, trying to make sure that you take like half your body weight in ounces a day and then add on top of that for how much you're exercising.
That's an interesting way to calculate that. I haven't ever heard that before, so I'll have to remember that. Thank you.
Usually the general one that I use. And then just listening to your body, like if you feel dehydrated, it's too late type thing. If you're thirsty, drink.
So I'm curious about this. You mentioned sodium. How do you feel about putting a pinch of salt in aminos? And this isn't so much about our products. I'm genuinely curious whether it's water, a post-workout shake. I like if anybody wants to make Folgers taste like good coffee, just put a pinch of salt in it. It actually makes it taste good. I hope Folgers doesn't come and sue me.
So what I have been using for a very long time, and I recommend to all of my athletes, is actually pink Himalayan sea salt. I do it in the morning in a cup of water with a big squeeze of lemon juice, and it is really good for adrenal health and cortisol levels. It reduces inflammation, and a lot of people, I think this is becoming more and more known in the CrossFit community, so it's seen less and less, but I think there was a long period of athletes under eating and training 4 to 5 hours a day. So there was a lot of adrenal fatigue. There was a lot of people getting injured and just like stopping the sport altogether, like top athletes. And so pink Himalayan, it's the pink Himalayan sea salt, take a big pinch, put it in the water. It can also help, obviously, long distance runners. They do salt packets for a reason, because when you do get dehydrated, the sodium imbalance gets way thrown off. So for after a workout, even leading up to a workout, taking a little bit of salt can definitely help keep that balance while you're, becoming more and more dehydrated, especially if it's a 30-minute open workout.
Right on. So that kind of covers the main questions I had, talking about sleep, talking about hydration. The one thing that I was excited to talk with you about, and I'm hoping that when people watch this, they'll not say, okay, here's things I can do for 5 weeks, but what are habits that they can put into play that won't be just absolutely life-altering and impossible to execute on, but things that will be a thin degree of separation, but compound over weeks, months, and years.
Yeah. So I think that with nutrition, that's the biggest thing. Obviously I talk about nutrition all the time. The hardest thing is that it is very individual. It's based on people's size, gender, age, height, activity level, all kinds of things. But the best thing you can do is kind of listen to your body. And then for people that are training and working out, even just like class goers, nutrient timing can help. So what I was going to kind of talk about a little bit with the open is you want to be making sure that like prior to your workout, you're taking in foods that are going to make you feel light, feel strong, and feel like you have good energy levels. And for the most part, you want to be taking in easy to digest carbs. In the same token, CrossFit, although intense, is not training for a marathon or eating like you're training for a marathon. I think a lot of people get a little thrown off by the fact that they see all these games athletes who train, 5 hours a day, taking in 3,000 calories of food. And then they think, well, I do CrossFit, so I need to be eating a lot. And then they actually end up overeating.
Right.
So, and you know, the whole idea, I love flexible dieting. That is what I follow, but it does not mean that you can consist your diet of pizza and ice cream and see proper results.
Right.
So what I usually tell people is you want to be taking in nutrient dense, easy to digest, anti-inflammatory foods. So
give me 3 examples of those.
So things that are, like I said, anything that's non-sugar, non-gluten, and non-dairy are probably the biggest hitters. So lean proteins, chicken, seafood, fish, grass-fed beef, you know, whey proteins are great. Egg whites combined with eggs. Eggs have great fats in them, but their fats add up pretty fast. So combining the two. And then for vegetables, it's kind of individual because some people respond to bloating a lot with certain vegetables, and others are fine. Like cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all tend to be big bloat vegetables. So experimenting with things. Sweet potatoes are great. Quinoa is great. Oatmeal seems to be good for a lot of people. Fiber content's awesome. It's an easy to digest, you know, it's a great carb to take in the morning. But the biggest thing is everyone's gut is a little bit different. And it stems back like as far as in your mother's womb of the gut bacteria being developed by what your mom ate. And what we eat each day controls to the gut bacteria. And then that our gut is technically called like our second brain because it responds to our brain. It sends signals all day, every day to our brain. So if we're taking in foods like, you know, pizza and pastas and things that are making us feel very sluggish, your gut's obviously not responding very well to that because your gut's the one that's telling your brain that you're fatigued and sluggish and tired. And so, you know, healthy fats are awesome. Fish oil is a great supplement for a healthy fat. Avocados, playing around with nuts. Some people actually respond poorly to certain nuts. Myself included, I don't do well with almonds, but I seem to be okay with peanuts. So I do a lot more peanut butter than almond butter. And so it's not following the rules, I guess, and really listening to your body, because I always say that one person's successful diet might be another person's poisonous one, just because we are so different in that. But lean proteins, healthy starches from sweet potatoes, squash, for people that are training a little bit more, oatmeal, rice is totally fine. And then healthy fats are, you know, how we all know the food level that CrossFit has kind of given us. I think that in the most recent years, we've started to realize that fat might not be the best fuel for CrossFitters. It might be more geared towards a carb-driven diet for the intensity levels. So I usually recommend to people, other than eating the nutrient-dense foods, chewing your food at least 20 times. And I challenge everyone out there to try this because you realize that you are like a wolf eating food. You do not chew 20 times. And you have to kind of sit there and you realize how much better you actually break down and digest the food. You might even get full sooner because I tend to be the type that I think I got this from my father, but I eat super fast. And so when I started doing this, it really started to kind of make me realize I was getting full sooner and my body just wasn't able to send the signals because I was scarfing things down so fast. Eating small meals frequently helps a lot of people just because it keeps hunger at bay. It keeps from binging on foods. And then trying to eat your last main meal about 3 to 4 hours prior to working out. And then maybe taking in an easy to digest. I do a lot of like, I'll do an apple before a workout, or when I was training a little bit more intensely, I would do like a peanut butter and jelly. It seemed to digest fairly well for me. It wasn't very heavy and it gave me fast sugars that I could use for the workout. Some people, like I said, don't digest food. They do better with liquid carbs. And then post-workout, trying to get something in within 30 to 90 minutes at least, because when you, and something honestly that spikes your blood sugar pretty quickly, because when you are able to spike the blood sugar, it actually kind of reduces the release of cortisol in the body, and your body's able to get into a recovery mode a little bit better. So that can be for people. I used to do like an overnight oats. So if you're taking a protein shake, consider doing like the post-WOD with carbs in it, or supplementing a protein shake with something like a piece of fruit, white rice, oats, stuff like that.
Get some carbohydrates. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the brain. There's actually a good documentary, I think, that's called the Second Brain, talking the gut brain scenario. And it's one of the things that they talk about in the videos. how fascinating it is that when you look at the physical structure of the intestine and the gut, how similar it is to the makeup of the brain. And what they're finding is it has its own nervous system, very similar to the brain. And so not only does the gut talk to the brain, but the brain talks to the gut. And I think it's called The Second Brain. You'll have to, it's on Netflix. So you have to, if you haven't looked it up, it's fascinating. So anybody that's watching this down the road, go check that out. It's a big deal. You talked about listening to your body. How do you teach somebody to do that? Because I always, people talk about, well, you need so many grams of protein per pound of body weight. And I'm sitting there thinking, math is hard. And we've introduced a new difficult concept, like so much water per pound.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach somebody to just listen to their body in a very simple way that lets them develop that habit over time?
Probably one of the easiest ways. It is kind of tedious, but when you eat foods, having either your phone or a small journal and writing down what you feel within the next hour. Another way that I have most of my clients who come to me start is by eliminating foods. So when you eliminate foods, make sure you're not eliminating more than one thing at a time, just because then, there's too many variables at hand. But the biggest one that I have people do is eliminate dairy for the next 2 weeks. And then try reintroducing it and see if that one thing is causing any type of issue. So typically what people will feel, energy-wise, they'll start to feel differently. They'll have more energy, they'll sleep better, things like that. Other things to look for are like how you're looking in the mirror. So I always advise my clients to take pictures. So if you're ever going on like a nutritional journey, start taking pictures, because you will literally notice, like I call it puffiness. People are puffy because of this chronic inflammation in their body from these foods that they don't even realize are making them inflamed, because our bodies are amazing and they will adapt. They will figure out a way to survive even when there is something in it that is technically, like, in a weird way, toxic to the body. So I know I'm using the example of dairy. It just tends to be for a lot of people like the number one thing that people don't want to get rid of because we love cheese. So they find that when they remove this, like, it's not normal to fart all day or be bloated or be gassy. Like, these things aren't normal. Myself included, I went through this when I removed dairy from my diet a while ago. And now every time I eat too much dairy, what I end up having is actually like really intense cramping in my stomach, where I feel like I have to like curl over in a ball to get rid of it. And I experienced this with too much sugar too. So it's your body has some pretty telltale signs, but you kind of have to almost remove things from your diet to make sure that your body's able to respond to them properly, because currently you might not think you're sensitive to certain foods, but it's because your body has become so used to you taking this in that there aren't as many adverse effects from it. And so when you remove it from kind of detoxify your body from it and you start introducing it again, then you start to see the adverse effects from it.
Right, you start to realize what your baseline is, what normal feels like instead of what your current normal. You don't know what you don't know yet. So yes. That's a great tip. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Are there anything else? Any tips? So we've got one question from Brenton. I'm going to click here so it shows up on the screen. So can you read that and see what we think?
Got it. That is a really good question. So he asked kind of if he suddenly changes his diet going from bad eating to good eating, if his body will kind of overreact and his performance will suffer from it. It depends on how bad. So if you're eating too many calories, but those calories aren't necessarily bad calories in terms of like lots of fried food, poor nutrient content, you might experience some lack of energy. So like if you're over fueling your body with carbohydrates or fats and you reduce that kind of level, you probably will feel some energy deficits. You might feel weaker, even if it's a level that's right for your body to help you maybe change body composition, stuff like that. Right. You might have some adverse effects from it. If you are eating very poor quality foods, lots of sugar, lots of fried foods, and you remove those things, you might experience headaches. You might experience withdrawal symptoms. Typically, these don't last longer than a few days or a week. Most people will start to experience a lot better energy, a lot more, strength in the gym. They feel lighter. They're moving better. They have better endurance pretty quickly when they change their diet for the better. So what I would recommend, if you're planning on changing your diet for the better, do it quick, because then you'll get one maybe bad week out of the open and you'll have 4 really good ones. So making sure that when you do change it, you have someone helping you to understand about how much food you should be taking in, so you're not going from too many calories and bad calories to too little calories of good calories, because it is easy to undereat good quality foods a lot more than it's, easy to overeat bad foods. So there can definitely be some adverse effects to watch out for, but making sure that you're drinking enough water can help with headaches, and making sure that you're eating enough protein, carbs and fats for your body can help with the adverse effects when changing the diet quickly.
Right on. Now, are you participating in the Open this year?
I am. So I am about 17 weeks pregnant, and I will be doing the Open probably for the first time. My problem is that I cannot work out with other people because I'm too competitive. And so I have been working out by myself. So I am a little nervous to do the Open because I'm going to be competing against other people. But I luckily have a prenatal expert. Her name's Colleen. She's with Fit2 Procreate, and she's amazing. And she's going to basically be meeting with me every week, going over what modifications to do, because and I've learned this, although you might feel good doing things pregnant, it can have bad effects post-pregnancy. So like, for example, I can still do kipping pull-ups. I can still do butterfly pull-ups. I can still do a lot of those things, but even though they feel fine now, they actually stretch out the abdominal muscles, and you can get the diastasis, basically where the separation of the muscles happens. And that happens post-pregnancy. And so it makes it a lot harder to kind of get them back together post-pregnancy. And so we're going to be going over modifications every week. It's going to be very hard for me to stick to them because I still feel pretty good, but I am doing the Open. I'll be about 18 to 22 weeks or so during the Open. So it's a good time. It's like your second trimester, which is a great time for it.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to document that process? I'm curious.
I am. I have been kind of documenting the process a little bit. I still follow macros. I still take all of the driven supplements. A lot of doctors tell women to not take protein powder, which is a myth. They don't have any research on it. They basically are I love doctors, but their job isn't to train us in nutrition and exercise. Their job is to, help us when we're sick or deliver babies. And so I've been eating the same that I always have. I feel great. My body's doing what it needs to do, I guess, but overall I feel really good. And yeah, I plan on doing pretty well, hopefully, and documenting it and trying to inspire other women that pregnant women are not broken or fragile. We are fully capable. So.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I'm really proud of still to this day is my hometown. I used to own some nutrition stores, and I ended up working with the local hospital, our gynecologist, and we ended up getting a pamphlet put in there for the benefits of vitamin D, specifically vitamin D during pregnancy, as well as postpartum for nursing. So like 5,000 IUs at a minimum, especially during the third trimester when those babies' bones start to calcify. That's a big deal. Like right now, since you're in Chicago, so weather's crap, you're not getting any vitamin D, so supplementing that. What they found, the blood serum levels of vitamin D of women after they deliver, it was just in the tank, and it was the same for the babies. So those are things that I would be remiss not to mention to anybody that's watching this. So anytime I talk to someone who's expecting, I always tell them take vitamin D, cholecalciferol specifically, vitamin D3. So, and since it's fat soluble, take it with a form of fat. Just take it with a meal.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that a lot of people miss with vitamins, and multivitamins in general and all that kind of stuff. The unfortunate part about multivitamins is that there's so many different types of vitamins in one, the levels of them usually aren't very high to be effective. Right. And then some of them compound the effects of each other. And so your body doesn't even digest or absorb them. So I've been taking a couple different prenatals to help with brain development. And the normal prenatals that are over the counter are great, but a lot of them don't have specific things. So
some of them don't have much, actually. I was really frustrated when I was looking at the prenatals that Val was being given through prescription. I was like, these are really crappy vitamins. Yeah. Like they don't have shit in them. So, and it is a prescription. So So we have a question here.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me go off on the tangent. I always been talking about expecting mothers and all that. So let's bring this question up.
Daisy, I know Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
If we're doing the open in the morning, what time do you recommend we eat, and should we have a full breakfast or a snack? Okay, this is a great question. So kind of nutrient timing, like we talked about. So for people that are doing the open in the mornings, I would recommend trying to wake up early enough to have a solid breakfast. So have something like some eggs, maybe some bacon or turkey's bacon, oatmeal, fresh fruit, toast, any of those work. And then have that about 3 to 4 hours prior to when you're going to start. And then having something small, like a piece of fruit, like, some type of carb supplement if you don't digest food very well at that time. If you want to do a pre-workout, that's fine. Just be careful of the caffeine. If you're used to it and your body's used to it, totally fine. But we all know the feeling of like having that cup of coffee and having to go to the bathroom right away. So if you're taking, the one thing that I love about the driven aminos, the only one I've found that doesn't have caffeine. And I've been using it obviously during my pregnancy because you're supposed to limit caffeine. So sipping on the aminos is what I always used to do before the workout, but trying to get a meal in about 3 to 4 hours prior, just something solid, because you've been essentially fasting all night. Even if you got a good dinner in the night before, your body needs energy. And so you're typically pretty nervous too. So taking something in way before that so that you're not eating too close when you're nervous, you're not going to digest it, you're going to go to the bathroom and you're just going to end up getting rid of all of it. So if you're doing the workout later in the day, you kind of have a full day worth of meals to fuel yourself, or if you don't plan, not fuel yourself very well. So that's a little bit, trickier, but the same rules apply with eating your last meal about 3 to 4 hours prior to let your body digest it. And then having a simple carb that's easy to digest right beforehand.
Okay. All right, cool. Is there anything else you want to add before we roll out? How do people find you and your business, and what do you offer to affiliates?
Awesome. Yes. So what I offer to affiliates is I work with affiliates to help them, one, implement a nutrition program that gives back to the gym. So there are a bunch of nutrition programs out there that are awesome, but what I've found is they take your members and they work with them. And then the gym kind of loses that benefit of their members getting nutrition help and staying within the gym. So I've created kind of a program that partners with gyms, and I run challenges initially, typically, but then the gym gets a kickback of the challenge. And then I also partner with gyms post-challenge, or if they want to just run the program in their gym, I give kickbacks depending on how many people are working with me from their gym to help them, one, get revenue from the nutrition program, have an in-house person that they can refer their members to if they're not comfortable talking to their members about nutrition. And then two, I work with all driven gyms, and they, sell driven supplements. And to help improve supplement revenue, I obviously recommend taking a whey protein or an amino or something that would benefit that particular client, to help hopefully increase revenue sales as well for their products. So I am, if you go to www.nutritionisαλifestyle.com is my website. And my email is becca@nutritionisαλifestyle.com. So you can reach me at both of those places. I have a Facebook page. I have an Instagram. The Facebook page is just under Lifestyle Nutrition. The Instagram is under Lifestyle Nutrition _coach. And I coach people nutritionally, either one-on-one. I do consultations at gyms that I partner with. I do 5-week challenges at those gyms, where the gym really doesn't have to do anything. I come in, I do a seminar with their clients, I do body fat testings, and then I work with their clients basically in the challenges a one-on-one basis. So I try to bring a lot of benefit to the gym without completely taking the clients from them, because it's nice to have in-house help, and someone that you can, when your clients come to you for help, it's nice to be able to say, oh yes, we have someone that does that. This is who it is. And so that's what I try to provide. It's
a bolt-on service.
Yes, completely.
Very cool. Man, you did great, Becca. We were talking beforehand. I think we're both, I always dread doing these lives, but you were absolutely amazing. You killed it. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I mean, good luck in the open. Make sure, like I said, the 2 things you can control right now are your sleep and your nutrition. So make sure that, especially most people want to redo that workout within 48 to 72 hours. and the volume is high, you're most likely going to be sore, but you can kind of influence that. Make sure you're taking in good food within the, hour and a half post-workout. You're eating well up until that workout, sleeping as much as possible, and hopefully you guys crush this open. I'm excited to watch everyone.
Right on. Cool. Well, Becca, thank you so much for taking the time today. I appreciate it. You did great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you later.
Bye.